I know I did not have, of bipolar disorder. And that's a very serious diagnosis. Many antipsychotics are actually pretty high risk for teens. They has a high probability of increasing feelings of sadness and actually
Curing them.
suicidal medication in general, except for life-saving medication, is like a band-aid. It's like putting wallpaper over a moldy wall. The wall, it's still growing mold underneath the wallpaper.
That was Andrea, a retired family therapist with an experience of 16 years and a complex trauma survivor who now believes in holistic, tox free remedies for mental health for women and their families. Now, the conversation ahead is going to give you these five very important takeaways. How medications can just be band aids, masking symptoms without addressing the root cause of mental health issues. The importance of holistic approaches and the need for incorporating nervous system regulation, hormonal balance, and gut health along with mental health medications. The financial burden of mental health healing, insurance not covering the cost of holistic health treatments, the interconnectedness of physical and mental health. Andrea highlights the interconnectedness of physical and mental health and the need to address both aspects to achieve her overall well being. The importance of self awareness and education in taking control of one's mental health. This is a must hear conversation for anyone who wants to keep a sane and healthy mind.
This is the mother of podcasts. Subscribe our YouTube channel for updates on new episodes every Thursday.
I want to hear the fact that why did you quit being a family therapist? I also want to hear about your this holistic, natural way of handling mental health for women and families. What is it about? Because I firmly believe that if a woman takes care of herself and her mental health, the society, the family, the child, everything else will come into place.
1000%.
And even men. I mean, if women takes care of herself, she'll be able to, regulate the entire environment for that matter.
I agree. So I actually got into becoming a therapist because of something that happened to me in childhood. When my mom got remarried, she remarried somebody very abusive, and I had had enough. I was like 13. I'd had enough of the shenanigans that my parents had kind of done throughout the years. And I was starting to really outwardly show signs of unhappiness around my situation. I felt really powerless. I was 13. I was coming into, adolescence when we start to really think for ourselves. And I was just like, this is not okay. Like the thing. And I have two siblings and I'm the oldest, so I was very protective of them. So I started showing outward signs of unhappiness, and I was rebelling a little bit. I was mouthing off. I was standing up for me and my siblings. And I definitely was melancholy. I was sad because of our situation, but I wouldn't say I was depressed by any means, especially looking back now. So my mom took me to see a psychiatrist.
Okay.
And within 10 minutes, I was given a very significant diagnosis that I know I did not have, of bipolar disorder. And that's a very serious diagnosis to give somebody, and especially to give a young person. And he put me on a medication that there has been research to show that medication has all antidepressants or
anxiety
health medication, anti-anxiety, SSRIs, many antipsychotics are actually pretty high risk for teens. They has a high probability of increasing feelings of sadness and actually
curing them.
Suicidal ideation.
Yeah.
Okay. But the medication that I was put on, there was actually a study done about it that it was showing to increase, like to create or increase suicidal ideation in teens. And that was the medication I was put on. And that study was suppressed. Okay. So it's now public, but it was suppressed back at the time. So I was put on this medication, and it really took a toll on my physical health. I slowly started to gain weight. And, when you're a young girl in high school, like nobody wants to be gaining weight. It also, I was a straight A student that would go to school and be, with it. And I was starting to sleep through my first two classes because had so much brain fog. I was so tired, lethargic. My eyes were kind of glossy. Like I look back at pictures. I started to have sleep issues, which led them to put me on a second medication for sleep.
I feel like this entire, mental health medication leads. So I had like a couple of, I'm not cutting you, I'm just saying that I feel that, I really feel that, one medication leads you, first it pushes you down the well even furthermore, and then it gives you another problem. I feel the side effects outweigh the benefits of mental health medication, because I remember I had PCOS. So I remember feeling really anxious during PCOS. So I thought that it's probably
hormones, because of your hormones and your gut health. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I went to a therapist, a psychiatrist, and I got some sort of, because my heart rate used to be like about 110 or something like that at all times. And I remember them giving me like an SSRI, I suppose. I'm not very sure. But it used to really elevate my mood when I used to take it. But there used to be like this extreme dip when I didn't take it. Mm-hmm. So I started feeling dependent on the pill, which was like, I took it for a month, and then I decided, no, this is not going to happen. I'm not going to be dependent on a pill to feel elevated. So I get it. I get what you're saying. You take one thing and then it leads to something else.
So most medication in general, except for life-saving medication, is like a Band-Aid. It's like putting wallpaper over a moldy wall. The wall, it's still growing mold underneath the wallpaper. It does not heal, right? It manages symptoms. And when you manage symptoms in one area, then your body will create pathways for more symptoms in another area. And so what I really needed was for my parents to get their act together and stop traumatizing me and my siblings. And I also needed emotional support. But instead, I was given a pill. Well, that led to me self-harming and 2 suicide attempts. And I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that was because of the medication, because I was not suicidal before going on medication. I might have been sad and angry and frustrated, but I was not suicidal. I never had those kinds of dark thoughts. I never had those feelings. So, and this was before the time of social media where it was like talked about openly, right? So it wasn't like there was that influence on me. So that happened to me. And I remember thinking I don't know, as a teen, I remember thinking, you know what? I'm going to become a therapist, and I'm going to educate parents so that other kids and teenagers don't have to have this same experience that I've had. I'm very much like I don't know if you know anything about the Enneagram. It's a personality test, but I'm an 8, and the 8 is it's the it's the protector. It's you know what I mean? Like very much about ethics and all of that. So, so I literally made that decision as a teenager, and then I went that direction in college. And I got into mental health, and very quickly, within a couple years, I was like, oh man, this isn't just a situation that was unique to me. This is a situation that is like system wide. It's system wide. And that was so disheartening for me and so disappointing and so overwhelming, because I'm like, how do I help fix this? Like I am actually a part of the problem in many ways, right? Therapists are a part of the problem in many ways, because all of our education, thankfully I became a family therapist, and their perspective is we don't diagnose unless we don't diagnose, we don't treat symptoms, we treat systems and families and everything, but you still have to diagnose to get insurance to cover, right? You're a slave to a system.
You have to put a tag on it, a name on it, a
You
disease on
have
it.
to in order for it to get paid, for you to be able to do anything. And to recommend anything that really helps with true deep healing, insurance won't pay for it. Things that would help families, right? Like I'm like, oh, what if we had them go out to an equestrian park together? It's like, no, insurance won't pay for it. Like nothing, it's really, you have to fit in the matrix. If you don't fit within the insurance matrix and what they have to offer for it, you don't get it paid
So
for.
nothing holistic, nothing holistic will ever be supported by insurance.
I don't know if it will ever, but I know that it's not currently, right? All the things that I've done for my family and I to heal the last several years have all been out of pocket. I will say that insurance pays for something called EMDR, and I will say that that would probably be one of the best things that you can do that will help with like brain resetting, brain rewiring. And I have done EMDR, and I think it's great. I think I think there's more to it than that. Definitely insurance is starting to pay for some more somatic type therapies where it's helping to release some trauma from the nervous system and the body, but we are far from where we need to be with what insurance is willing to cover. So that led me to, I stuck with it for a long time because I really was just like, at that point, I didn't know what else and then I became a single mom, right? Like life circumstances didn't permit me to just like go off and sail into the sunset. Like it took me a while to figure out personally and professionally what I wanted to do. And I got to a point where I was experiencing the limitations of my license because there's certain things so I have a certification in functional medicine for mental health where I understand what kind of supplements and herbs and food and different things will really support mental health. But even with that certification, with my license, wasn't allowed to give those types of recommendations. I know it's really ridiculous. So I got to this point where I'd be sitting there in the session listening to a woman or listening to a parent, and I'd want to say, listen, I really want to recommend that you get a test for mineral deficiency. Here's some different supplements and and I couldn't say it because I could lose my license. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And I had been doing health coaching and things like that on the side for a while. And then I started to learn how to grow on social media. So, social media expedites income very quickly if you know how to do it right. And I got to a point where I'm like, you know what?
Teach me, all right? Just on a note.
I will. And I was like, you know what? Screw this. I am going to walk away from this. And it was during the pandemic. So that was like the squeeze for me because personally it was stressful. My kids at home homeschooling. I'm trying to do therapy up in my bedroom, up in the corner. And I have this little girl who doesn't understand she can't knock on my door for 5 hours straight. So in my own home, it was very stressful. And then I knew with the pandemic what people needed. And some of it I couldn't tell them, right? Like I wasn't allowed with my license. So I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I stepped away. I kept my license for another year. And then second year, I was like, I don't need this anymore. I don't need this like safety net anymore. And it's been a process, I will tell you, because there's so much that I could say that I haven't said yet, that I'm just starting to peel back the layers on feeling comfortable with being that polarizing, because it's very polarizing. But it's very accurate. And so that's the journey that I've been on, is sharing what I've used to help women and children outside of the therapy room that has helped their mental health, right? Supplementation, different somatic exercises, different nervous system regulation, boundaries, family dynamic stuff. And And that's how I make a living now, but also that's how I help families who are really looking for a holistic route but don't know where to start because it
Wow.
is confusing.
Thank you for joining us on this powerful conversation with Andrea, a retired family therapist with 16 years of experience. Today, Andrea shared her personal journey of being diagnosed with bipolar disorder as a teenager and the devastating effects of conventional treatments. Andrea's story highlights the urgent need for a holistic approach to mental health, one that addresses the intricate connections between our nervous system, hormones, and gut microbiome. As Andrea emphasized, true healing requires a multifaceted approach that goes beyond just medication. By sharing her expertise and personal experience, Andrea aims to empower women and families to take control of their mental health and takeaways that I have taken from my personal conversation with Andrea. The importance of addressing the root cause of mental health issues rather than just masking the symptoms. The critical role of nervous system regulation, hormone balance, and gut health in maintaining mental well-being. The need for holistic approach to mental health that incorporates natural therapies and lifestyle. Andrea's message is one of hope and resilience. Despite her facing her own struggles with mental health, she has dedicated her life to helping others find a more holistic path to healing, which she also says is her calling. If you resonated with Andrea's story and message, we encourage you to continue the conversation in the comments below. Share your own experiences, ask questions, and let's work together to create a community that supports holistic mental health for women. Thank you so much again, Andrea, for sharing your wisdom and inspiration with us today. This is a small part of a larger conversation that I had with Andrea, ranging from issues of modern women to how modern women is not in her feminine and is not able to embrace her feminine, and what made us reach this place where we are not able to take in, soak in, live in our feminine energy. The episode where we've spoken about feminine energy and embracing it for modern women is out on our YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. You can go and check it out there. The entire conversation, without any cuts, will be available for our patrons next week.
This podcast is available on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Connect with us on Instagram, Threads, and Facebook.